Hello, this is Tim Cronin, Superintendent for the Decorah Community Schools, and I'm here today with Jonathan Carlson, who's a fifth through eighth grade PE teacher for the district. But right now, we're going to talk to him about his role as the varsity boys basketball coach. Welcome, Jonathan.
Thanks, Dr. Cronin. Appreciate the opportunity to talk a little bit here about our basketball program. Excited for the season to get started tonight.
Awesome. And so we're talking on Tuesday, November 29th, our first JV and varsity games for boys start tonight. We're hosting Prairie du Chien, if I've got that correct.
Yep. Prairie du Chien, kind of fast and furious here with them tonight, and then Western Dubuque on Friday and Center Point on Saturday. So kind of one of those. Let's see what we're made of here in the first week with three tough games. So, but we like it that way too. So,
and so maybe if we take a step back, probably a good way to start an interview is just find out a little bit about the person you're interviewing. So, how long have you been in the Decorah district and been our basketball coach?
Well, this is my 11th year as the head basketball coach and also as a fifth through eighth grade PE teacher. Prior to that, I was in Stewartville for a year, Stewartville, Minnesota for a year teaching up there, had some elementary and a middle school section up there for a year. At that time, I was actually still coaching in Decorah so I first started off after Luther graduating there. I started off as a kind of in between my senior year, and then I took essentially a fifth year to finish up education requirements.
Like a super senior year.
Exactly. Yeah, kind of that way. And so I finished up my coaching authorization and teaching, sort of student teaching, those types of things, and was able to get a ninth grade position in Decorah coaching basketball then. And then the year after that, our ninth grade coach, or excuse me, our JV coach left. So then I moved up there and coached. I think it was 3 or 4 years there. So I think it's between 15 and 16 years that I've been with the actual program. And then I'm a townie, so graduated 2003 from Decorah. So I was a manager for Coach Johansson back in the day. And he probably wanted to kick me out a bunch of times because I think I maybe almost got him a technical foul once. But nonetheless, it was one of those deals where kind of got my feet wet doing some managing, and then here I am now, I guess. So
Awesome. I didn't know so that was quite a commute to get to Stewartville for that year.
it was, yeah. Just did that for a year, kind of get some experience. Position presented itself, and it was definitely one of those winters where you'd hope that there wasn't a whole lot of snowfall. There was a few times when probably shouldn't have been driving, but obviously weather can change based, within 3 to 4 miles of each other. But we made it through the year, so.
Okay. And so maybe it'd be a good time to also just recap a little bit about last year. I know we had a pretty exciting season for the Vikings and made it to the state tournament.
Yeah, first time I think in like 45 years, somewhere around there. I think it was it 77? I think somewhere around there was the first or the last time that they got there. And yeah, it was one of those seasons where we kind of knew with the returnees that we had the previous year getting to the sub-state final, it was kind of that stepping stone. The 2 years prior we had gotten to the district final at CPU with those seniors that are now juniors in college, or excuse me, I think they're sophomores or juniors in college, can't remember. Anyways, but that grade kind of got the ball rolling, if you will, getting past sort of the first round. And then we got into that second round and then faced a good CPU team there that year and got, they advanced to the state tournament. And then the year after that, we made it to the sub-state final. And then obviously last year broke through getting to the state tournament. So, these guys that were with us last year that were seniors, a great senior class, they'd kind of, been through those experiences, and I think that prepared them well to have sort of set up that season last year. But it's one of those things where you on paper, you look at it, and obviously think you're going to have a good year, but you don't know. You got to play the games. They aren't played on paper. So, we were able to do some good things last year. Like I said, great senior class. Obviously, anytime you graduate that many seniors, it's obviously tough to replace that experience. I think is the biggest thing from a senior side of things. But one of those things where, it's a program, right? So you don't want to, it's not a reload situation. It's just not a rebuild situation. It's a reload, and so we've got some guys that have been through some battles and some we had some good JV teams here the last few years too. So that's why you build the program.
And so talking about the returning players, who's coming back that would have played the most that you're kind of counting on?
Yeah, so we have on the senior side of things, we have Casey Kroskoff, Tate Johnson, and Ethan Holthouse. And Casey and Ethan both played JV last year, and played significant minutes in JV as juniors. And so it was obviously good to get them playing last year and getting some minutes with that big senior class. Sometimes juniors, it's a hard year for them, not having, if they're not going to play varsity, being able to get them some minutes, which is nice for our conference that we're able to play some juniors on some JV teams. And then Tate Johnson wasn't with us last year. He was with us for a little bit, but had some family circumstances that didn't permit him to be with us. But he's been with us essentially the last couple of years. So we're expecting some big things out of those seniors, even though maybe they haven't been in varsity competition besides for summer basketball. They're obviously, all three of those guys are capable of leading us to good things this year. And then juniors, we have Trayton McCain. Him and Ben Bachman are kind of our two returning letter winners, if you will. Trey, as many people will know, tore his ACL last spring. So we're not exactly for sure if we're going to get him back this year or not. But unfortunate thing for him, but he's rehabbing well, tracking good. So hopefully we'll get him back maybe towards the end of the year. Ben Bachman, another junior that had a great year last year as a sophomore on the varsity squad. We're expecting big things out of him, and a lot of guys are turning to him, obviously having some experience there with playing on varsity last year. And then we have Caden Quandall. His mom's Shannon Quandall. She's the girls basketball coach. So looking forward to coaching him this year. And he had a great junior year in football for the football team. So good to see him coming up for us as a junior. Another one as a junior, we have Andrew Rhodes. His dad's actually a teacher in the district as well, Mark Rhodes. So many people know that name. Andrew had another good year in football as well as a junior. So, and then other juniors that we have, Braylon Lipa is a kid that we kind of talked off air before this, but you mentioned any guys that have worked hard. Braylon's put in a lot of time in the off season, and put himself in some good positions here. And Jaron Firehelm is another one. We also have Joe Stanmeyer, and I'm thinking I'm missing maybe one out of the. Matthew Bachman's another one. Matthew would be a brother to Joe Bachman, who we had last year. And Matthew's put in a lot of time with basketball, and we're looking forward to him having a big year as well. So I think that's all of our juniors there and all of our seniors. So I think we've got 10 guys there that's a good group, and we're looking forward to continuing to coach them.
And before I remiss to ask is, if I remember correctly, Joe Bachman had some pretty sweet hair going on last year.
Yeah, they all kind of had the long hair last year. A situation where they all wore headbands and or not all of them, but some of them did. So it was definitely good to see those locks flowing last year. So.
Okay. And so are you implying that we're a little bit more conservative on our hair approach this year, or how's the flow going?
Yeah, I would say out of our crew, there's a few that maybe have a little bit, not as long as Joe's last year, though. I think some of those guys maybe are like, I need to maybe cut it so I can actually see the basket. So I know my own son had some longer hair, and I made him get a haircut so he could actually maybe see where he's walking. So
Okay. And when I was able to watch a little bit of the team last year, real frantic pace, action, lots of 3-point shooting. And then one of my favorite offensive rebounders with Storts underneath the basket, kind of cleaning up. It was a nice mix. Unfortunately, kind of ran into a tough, what was it? Central DeWitt.
Central DeWitt last year. Yeah. They
Yeah.
had a 6'7" kid inside that, obviously acquired a lot of attention inside. And then some of their other role players stepped up and had some big games there. So obviously, like to have that one back, but it's one of those deals where sometimes you just tip your cap and we didn't, I think we were 11 of 22 from the free throw line in that game. So, at the state tournament, it's one of those things, we've got a guy on staff, Rafe LaFrenz, who, he's been down there a few times himself when he was back playing for MFL. And, like he said, and it's true, it's kind of a crapshoot. I mean, you're seated where, obviously we were seated 2 coming in and, but it's one of those things where you just don't know. You just don't, it's a new environment for everybody, for most teams. I mean, there's a few teams that were in 3A last year that were returnees. I think DCG was the one that won it. And, they had been there the year before. So obviously that helps, but anytime you go into a big arena like that, the backdrops are different, shooting's different. So, but it's one of those things where our guys obviously competed as hard as they could, gave it all, left it all on the floor, and that's all you can ask for as a coach. So,
well, style wise, will we have the same kind of style, or are we looking to change things up?
Yeah, we that's kind of been our MO the last, I would say 3 or 4 years. Prior we were trying to play fast, but I'll be honest with you, obviously having influence of Rafe, that influence, and obviously we've got some other great coaches. Jake Reinhardt's our 9th grade coach. If I can talk a little bit about those guys, Jake is a great asset to us. He joined us last year. Kevin McCain's our varsity assistant, and then our JV coach is Gunnar Rollins. So obviously having those guys there, and then Rafe as our volunteer assistant. But he's definitely the one that influenced some of our and how to play fast, and under control, and it's not just scramble. I mean, guys have specific positions where they're supposed to run to, and so I think it's a situation where the guys, they've all, and that's attributed to our youth programs. I mean, Gunnar Rollins is kind of our DBA lead. Bridget him and Bridget Storhoff both do a great job with our DBA as far as helping those coaches. And as a head coach, obviously you only can do so much and only be, in certain places at certain times, but you try to, put people in positions to be successful. And I think that's what we've done here. And it's worked out well, but obviously, like you said, that's something that our program prides itself on is playing fast and rebounding the heck out of the basketball and getting to the other end as quickly as possible.
Well, now that I think about it, I had an opportunity to play a little basketball with Coach Johansson back at Luther. And I remember his style of play was to let the big guys get the rebound, and then he would hustle out to get the layups on the other end.
Yeah. Cherry picker, right?
Well, those are your words, not mine.
Okay.
But he had a lot of faith. He had a lot of faith in the big guys to rebound, because he was always ready to get out on the break. I always thought that was a Trapola thing.
Yeah.
So,
Rafe, they ran quite a bit of that. I think some at MFL, but obviously for his days at Kansas with Roy Williams, that was the big influence there. So,
okay. When we look at the schedule, this is going to be fun for me, because I'm just looking. We play Caledonia this year. We host Prairie du Chien tonight. Some different schools, some different gyms. Maybe talk about who's traditionally good teams. I see we got Center Point on our schedule.
Yep.
So what's out there on our schedule to kind of look ahead for without looking past the first game?
Yeah, no, understood. I think looking at our schedule, I mean, these first 3 games, Prairie's always tough. They're similar. They're that tough nose, that blue collar community. Coach Banasic there, he's been there for probably 25 years. He's also their superintendent now. He was their principal and AD for a while, and then he's now the superintendent at Prairie. And they have a good program. They've had a lot of success. So obviously, utmost respect for them. And then obviously Friday with Western Dubuque, they're another team. They're our only loss in the regular season last year. They lost a few guys from last year, but they're playing in a 4A conference. So they're definitely going to be a big test on Friday. And then, other non-conference, you mentioned CPU, they've got some capabilities, obviously going playing on the road thereafter, a Friday, Saturday, those are always tough. Long road trip there on Saturday. And then, you mentioned Caledonia. They lost. Some people will remember this name, Eli King. He's playing for Iowa State right now, but his dad is still the coach at Caledonia. Another, similar to Banasic, where they've just got a great program. They've had some obviously great athletics here over the last 15, 20 years. Seems like they just keep churning out athletes up there with football, basketball, you name it, baseball, whatever it is. And then some of our other non-conference, MFL is going to be really strong this year. They've got a lot of kids back. Basically been playing some kids since they've been freshmen, and now they're juniors and seniors. So they're definitely going to be strong. We got West Delaware. Actually, that's one of our former players. Drake Scureen's the head coach there at West Delaware. So we have to go down there this year. I think that's at the end of the year. And then where Mr. Hurst was at Mason City, we closed them out, I think, to end the year in February. So those are non-conference ones. And then in conference this year, it's always a battle in Northeast Iowa Conference. It doesn't really matter. I would say our strong teams this year, Waverly's got pretty much everybody back. And then Charles City's got a really strong team this year too. So it's definitely one of those schedules that's no rest for the weary. It's every night. So you got to be ready to go, because the other team's going to be chomping at the bit to get after you. So
in non-conference, maybe did we talk about Wahlert and Denver?
Yes. Yep. Those are Wahlert definitely. I forgot about that one. Wallert's definitely they're in this area. I would say they're probably one of the top 3A teams. I think preseason they're ranked either 2 or 3. They've got a couple big guys back. And then Denver, they lost some guys from last year, but always a formidable. I think are they in the NICL? Is that what that is down there?
I believe that's right. NICL, Sumner Fred, and
yep. Kind of where your old territory down there.
And Dunkerton was Iowa Star.
Okay.
But that area.
So they're one that we added. It's kind of nice. It's hard sometimes around here to get 3 levels of competition, and Denver is kind of that, on the outskirts there, Waterloo, Cedar Falls. So they've got a nice brand new gym. I don't know if you've been in there, but it's a sweet setup in there. They've got a lot of space, and it's a fun atmosphere to play in. I think Cresco beat them by 1 last night. So but we go down there this year to Denver. So we get Wahlert here, so that's kind of nice. But I think we were supposed to play Wahlert last year, 2 years ago, and I think they had a COVID situation, so we couldn't play them. So we got them back on our schedule this year. So
I haven't been inside. I've been in Denver's auditorium, but their track is a pretty neat facility where they have the back of the. It's kind of like a Luther College situation where your track, the back of one of your auditoriums then serves as your press box for your track. So
Yep.
But since we're not playing them in track, that probably doesn't matter. Other favorite gyms that you like to go play in on the road?
I know a lot of people hate it, but Waverly, the people around here, obviously everybody's, Waverly decor, all this and that, but you got to give respect to them as far as like just their setup. I mean, I know sometimes they may cross the line as far as, their student section and things, but I'll always remember a couple of years ago, one of our players, they were chanting his girlfriend's name at the time. They were chanting her name every time he caught the ball, and so big atmosphere there. That's always a fun atmosphere to play in. Another one around here that, I think kind of gets forgotten a little bit is Cresco. Their gym is really is a little bit smaller, but it just, if that thing gets packed, it just gets really loud. We've had some epic 2 years ago. It'd be your old teammate, Coach Robinson, Jerry. His son, when his son was a senior, I think we had, it was like a triple overtime game. That was a district final to get to the sub-state final. And that was an epic game, just back and forth. And so, that gym there is you always have some, bad and good memories in that gym.
Sure.
But that's another one too around here. I think that kind of gets lost a few times, but it's always fun to play in there.
All right. And that maybe not the gym that Rafe built, but we do travel and play at MFL Marmac.
Yep. Yeah,
So-
they've got a unique setup there with their they've got kind of a stage across the way from the benches. So that's always it'll be hot and sweaty in there. I think it's a quad too. I think girls play there too, and their girls program is pretty good too. So that'll be a fun night over there playing a quad with the girls.
And you talked about getting games for the different levels and having schools to do that. We're a little bit disadvantaged with just having one gym when we host 3-level games. So what time, remind me, what time do we start with our games when we've got 3 going on?
So the triple headers are you mean the quads?
Well, why don't you explain both of them to me?
Yeah. So the conference just this last year was our first year for doing quads, and those games, like, we play, so it'll be JV girls, then JV boys, then varsity girls, then varsity boys, and those ones start at 4:15 in our facilities.
And we play those all in the same gym.
All in the same high school gym. Yep.
Okay.
And then I know some conference schools have kind of done some realigning this year. I think Waukon and I want to say Charles City are maybe using their middle school gyms because those are connected to their high schools. And so I think last year they did everything in their high school gyms, but now they're kind of utilizing their middle school gyms on the nights that we play there this year. But obviously we're not in that situation. We're in the same facility. I think the only one conference wise that we have where we play at the middle school is Waverly Shell Rock. That one's actually 6 games in a night. There's 4 games at the high school, and then there's 2 games at the middle school. But so that's our quad. So if it's a quad situation, it's 4:15, 5:30, usually about 6:15, 6:30, somewhere around there is the varsity girls, and the varsity boys is after, somewhere probably about 8:00. So, or 8:30. Hopefully it doesn't start at, I know that was a big concern last year, was a lot of the boys coaches at our end of the year meeting were just saying there was some of those games that are getting started pretty late. Adam's in the conference ADs, I think, have done a pretty good job of having some of our further trips, Charles Cities, Waverly's, those types of ones are on Friday night. So at least you're not, if it does go a little bit later, you're not, those ones are more a walk on the school weeknights. We have that luxury too, though, of having the late start on Wednesday mornings. Obviously our conference games are Tuesdays and Fridays. So, our guys can sleep in, girls can sleep in a little bit later there on Wednesday mornings sometimes. But, and then our triple headers, those will start at 5. So we'll go 5, 6, like Friday night is 5, 6:15 and like 7:30, 7:45, somewhere around there. So.
Okay. And for the schools that have 2 gyms that they utilize, do they kind of overlap the quad so it's not quite as long and elongated night then?
Right. Like Waverly is able to do that too, because they have a second gym that their old high school gym, actually, that's kind of behind their other main competition gym that they use for the high school is so they're able to kind of tier them there and have a few games in there as well. So,
and that's just coming from Dunkerton, and both Central City and Dunkerton had second gyms hooked on that they could utilize that for the quads, and it was kind of nice, and it was just kind of interesting to see how you could different ways you can do that. But you don't, number one, you can get the last game over a little bit sooner. So that's just a nice feature. You're talking about, whatever the travel is, if you can get home earlier
Right,
on a Tuesday or Friday night, just makes it easier for the rest of for the next day. So,
right, exactly.
but yeah, we'll solve Jim's space problem at a different time. And obviously the conference has got all sorts of stuff going on. So
Yep.
we'll let the conference do that. Well, very good. Other basketball related items to share as we get ready for this year's season.
No, just like I said, wanted to just, say thanks to, we've got great community support, whether that's through our youth programs. I mentioned our assistant coaches helping out there, and that's Bridget Storoff and I started the DBA that 11 years ago when I started as head coach, and that was kind of a mission for us to be able to make basketball accessible to all families in our community, and because I think not saying it was a wrong method at all, but I think it was one of those deals in the past where if a dad of say a seventh grade group, for example, they took their son or daughter's 6 or 7 best friends, and that was the team. So whereas now I'm coaching, my son's in 5th grade, and I have that group helping coach that group, and we have 23. So we'll have two teams there, maybe even 3, or anyways. And so it's one of those things where you want to make basketball accessible, and not and that's something that is obviously not done just by one person. It's done by a community effort. And I think we've obviously always have room for improvement. Every year you analyze and look and see those are things that we can do a better job with. But that, and being able to host tournaments too. I think Bridget and Gunnar do a great job with our hosting of tournaments, and I think we get you have to turn a lot of schools away that want to come to our tournaments because they're run so well, and that obviously doesn't just happen with overnight there. It's a lot of hands on deck, and just appreciate all the community support that we've had over the years, and continued thanks to everybody there, and hopefully we can continue to have success on the basketball floor.
Sounds very good. I usually I've been asking people fun fact and or favorite thing to do in Decorah at these interviews.
Favorite thing to do in Decorah would a lot of things. I would say off the top of my head, probably riding the trail is definitely up there. My wife and I, we do that a lot in the summertime. So I would say riding the trail, or, just getting out. Obviously with COVID, had a lot of time. So I got out and kind of explored some trout streams that I hadn't really, my dad took me out on a bunch of those when I was, younger. And so just being able to, so I would say doing one of those two things, getting out and enjoying something out in the outdoors.
And as a true fisherman, you were very vague as to where you went fishing.
Yeah, exactly. No, I wasn't really beating down any real special holes or anything. I think there was quite a few other people there that were fishing. But anyways, it's nice to have those resources around, and to be able to take your kids and show them the great outdoors as well. So
Okay, very good. It occurred to me as I was prepping for this interview, one of the things that happened a couple years ago that I probably should, that'd be another question to ask coaches, but at Dunkerton, Todd Kuntz, the head coach, there somehow on Twitter, one of the sports reporters, like a Jeff Linder or Jeff Johnson or somebody like that, had said something about watching the TV show Big Sky. And I had commented back, and Todd saw it, and Todd was like, oh yeah, that's my favorite show. But then he added, but now the basketball season started, I don't have any time to do that. I'll have to watch everything in March or April. So as you get to the start of basketball season, the busiest time of year for you, undoubtedly, what's something that you're like, well, I won't can you think of something that you won't be able to get to too much between now and one of your favorite things or hobbies, or something that you won't do much between now and the end of basketball season?
I would say, geez, that's a tough one. Yeah, maybe something with, I know for me, like I like to watch, I'm a big college basketball fan. So you don't usually get to watch. I probably become more of a Gonzaga fan now because their games start at 9 or 10 o'clock, and that's usually when I'm, got the kids, they're settled down, whatever, and I'm able to actually watch. So maybe just casually watching some. I don't really have any series that I watch, so none of those are really going to have to be on the back burner right now. But I would say just, maybe being able to tune in more with college basketball stuff. But
Okay, very good. Well, thanks, Coach. We'll look forward to seeing the Vikings on the floor tonight against Prairie du Chien. Then on Friday, hosting West Delaware, and then the first road trip of the year to Center Point and the whole season. So thanks for your time today, and good luck with the season.